Shush! He's prepared to live stream.
Oh, no worries. He's allowed to chat while I'm setting it up. Don't worry. Alright. I got the link prepared.
No, I like stay quiet in this place.
We don't have to be quiet all the time, but it's fine. I'm frozen. There we go. Alright. Anyways, hey folks, it's me, M64 Bros, and I'm back in VR chat with these two awesome badass friends of mine, along with this guy. And today we are going to react to Nathaniel Bandy trying to speed run all the 2D Mario games in 2 weeks. And yeah. Other than that, let's do this. I got the link prepared.
Yes, and right now, as you can see me playing VRs on VRChat. This is my first time playing VRs. Now I've been playing this VR for 3 months. Yeah, that's crazy.
Here we go.
Here he goes, here he goes.
Going for 100% in a lot of these games takes much longer than you'd imagine. So we're in for quite the ride. And I say we because Simple Flips was crazy enough to join me for this venture. We streamed the entire thing together and raced to see who could finish all the games first. If for whatever reason you don't know who Simple Flips is, he's incredibly good at 3D and 2D Mario games, so I expect to lose this race. But hey, who knows what'll happen, right? Before going in, I needed to plan way more than the other marathons that I've already done. I created this entire spreadsheet that has guides for alternate exits, hidden coins, and secrets. This guide may be the only reason we'll be able to 100% all these games. I've honestly been nervous about this for months. I was exhausted after a week of playing 3D Mario, and then Mario Kart. What the hell is 2 weeks of this gonna be like? Well, let's find out.
This is gonna be really exciting. Day 1. Here we go.
The first day has finally arrived, and this was the one I was most worried about. Simple Flips and I began, and this insane marathon has started its course. To 100%,
I can't see it. I'm on
it's really
quest.
simple. Beat all 32 levels without using any warps. I'll also be using the same controllers the game's console was on. Now, thankfully, I've beaten this game quite a
But
few
I can
times
still
in the
messing
past.
around.
So while I'm used to SMB1's wonky physics, they still took me a bit of time to get the hang of again. This marathon dynamic is much different compared to the other ones I've done, because I had Simple Flips on call with me the whole time, and immediately I noticed my mood was better than usual because the both of us were going to be clawing our way through these games together. As for the game itself, I mean, we've all seen it and played Mario Bros. 100 times. It's not the greatest game to go back to, especially because so many levels look the same and the jumping momentum can be super funky. While building speed and running feel fine, jumping is tricky because Mario will kind of lock in place depending on how fast he's going. It's like this in most 2D Mario games, but the physics have been heavily polished as the decades have passed. And the springs are also very inconsistent. It can sometimes be hard to tell how much distance you'll cover after jumping off one. Also, if you get a game over,
2 weeks
this
may
may
sound like a long
back
time to
World
100% all the 2D
well,
Mario
at least
games.
that's how
But
it
that's
works
because
if you
we're
don't know
including
that
all the
you can
mainline
hold
games
titles
and
for
most of the
the
Game Boy
game
variants,
because
and
doing
Super
this
Mario
sends you back
All-Stars
to the
since it's a
world
full-on
that you
remake.
died in.
Going
So
for
even though the game
100%
sounds
in a
like
lot of these
it's
games
not
takes
the
much
world.
longer than you'd imagine. So we're in for quite the ride. And I say we because Simple Flips was crazy enough to join me for this venture. We streamed the entire thing together and raced to see who could finish all the games first. If for whatever reason
I'm worried about. Anyway, after like 30 minutes, I found my way at World 8. I was cooking along at a good pace, but then I got to 8-4. This level really isn't that bad, but the Hammer Bro right before Bowser is super hard to predict. So I finally got to him, and yep, I died. Okay, cool. That's the first game over, but at least I can start at 8-1 compared to 1-1. After a couple more game overs, I jumped over that Hammer Bro, and then somehow avoided Bowser's hammers, and just like that, was already done with Super Mario Bros. 1. It feels great to have finished this game so quickly. In fact, it only took 58 minutes, but this was just the warm-up. Yup. Next up is Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. This one game is why I was dreading this marathon. To 100% the Lost Levels, I need to beat the main 32 levels without warps, then beat 9-1 through 9-4, get a game over in 9-1.
Yes, and can I do an intro for your streams?
And then beat those. This equates to beating 52 of the worst Mario levels ever conceived. I've been so terrified of getting stuck in this game during the marathon that I actually played through it a few times before the marathon even began.
I'm behind you.
This
This
is
is
one of my
perfect
most
for
hated
background.
Mario games of all time because of how awful and cruel the level design is. First off, for a sequel, it does virtually nothing new to make it better. The wonky
Oh, yeah, be
physics are the
careful
same,
of
and the
stream
themes are mostly the
snipings. You
same
know,
as well.
Crashers
There's
don't
no new
like
music,
streamings
or
on
enemies,
YouTube.
or bosses. It's basically just an unfair level pack. The BS begins at World 2
Yeah,
too. Like,
Thomas,
look at this huge
you know,
gap.
there's a Crashers
Seems like
that
you
can
gotta
crash your
make quite
game,
the jump to clear
but
that, right?
at least
Nope,
that he
wrong.
doesn't watch
Instead,
his
you gotta
streams.
hit 2 completely random invisible blocks and then
I will
make your
tell
way
that
across.
this-
The game gives you
yeah,
no
because
clues
he's
to
a-
do this. You just have to assume that if you're stuck,
because
just jump
he's
around like
an
an idiot
idiot.
until a block shows up. And maybe it's just me, but the hitbox
Yes, you don't
collision
know what
seems
the-
to be
what the
even
stream
worse than the
is.
first game. Like, look at this. In 2-4, I died jumping on a Goomba. Like, how does that even happen? But look, the first few worlds, they aren't too
Okay,
bad. So I was
when
at least
I,
getting through
live
them somewhat
stream,
quickly.
I am
World 4 and
about to
beyond is where things
take
get
the
incredibly
video.
dumb. Look at this jump in 4-3.
When I'm
There's a
live
Koopa that is
streaming,
barely
I'm
in
about to,
view, and I have to jump perfectly so I
take
bounce
the
off to reach
video.
the other side. What is this? A bad Mario Maker
the
level?
live stream
Oh,
video, and
wait a
then I'm
second.
gonna
That's the
edit it,
entirety of
and
the
then
Lost
put the
levels. It's
Half-Life
just a compilation
intro,
of bad Mario Maker
and then
levels.
put the
By the time I was at
Half-Life
World
Bad Mario
4,
Maker
Single
levels.
Clips wrapped up Mario Bros. 1. I was kind of surprised to be this
Yeah,
far ahead of
chat's
them,
doing.
but I have a feeling that both of us are going to be
Yeah.
stuck
Social
in Lost
people, okay.
levels for quite a while. But honestly, I think I got this. The goal for the marathon isn't so much to beat the games in 2 weeks, but to hold my composure. For the
Yeah, just
3D
hang on for a
Mario
sec.
and Mario Kart marathons, I had a horrible time maintaining my sanity. But this
man.
time, I
Don't
want
mind
to get
MC
through
Boss.
this
My
without
friend
having to
Thomas
I
or
eventually
Fire
got to
Name
World
Tuesday is
5,
going to live
and
stream.
Oh boy, they added
Oh, no
win.
worries.
That's probably the biggest thing they included. And it's also
Oh yeah, no
incredibly
stream
annoying.
sniping by the
just
way.
have
You know
to
I don't
know
like
this is
crashes
coming,
people
and
as
all
I
you
can
have to
destroy
do
the
is play out in
game.
advance,
Yeah, I
or
know,
you're not
don't
gonna
worry.
make it. Then let's talk about Pipe 3. This level will infinitely loop if you don't know that you need to get up to this pipe and then go down it. Again, there's no context clues to do any of this dumb crap. Oh, and then 5-4 is filled to the brim with fire bars and incredibly tight jumps. This was where the struggle began. I got game overs more times than I can count. Messing up an individual level wasn't even that painful. It was getting kicked back to the beginning of the world. It just felt like I was wasting my time, replaying levels I had already beat, only to make a few small mistakes and then, uh-oh, gotta retry it all again. And when you play the same thing over and over like this, it's really easy to slip up more and more. It's a very common
man.
trait in games. The more tired you get seeing the same thing, the easier it is to make mistakes. But eventually, I got through World 5 and was pretty ecstatic. But I'm not even halfway done yet. Just look at my screen. This is 6-1 in a nutshell. 6-2 is complete nonsense the whole time. The bloopers and cheap cheeps are sometimes in spots that are almost impossible
That
to
scared the
avoid.
crap
Then
out
we've
of
got
me.
6-3. The cheap hitboxes are so broken that I died just jumping on top of
Oh
them.
my
and
God,
also
that
they added this
scared me.
block with a mushroom in it, and the only ground underneath it is a paratrooper. Wow,
Wow.
very cool, guys. And then finally for 6-4, you gotta take specific paths to get across, so you keep looping the same sections over and over. The most terrifying
Sorry.
part of 6-4,
That's
however,
right.
was Bowser's Flames. They're completely random, and there's lots of jumps where
just
you're
messing
supposed to
around.
fully commit to them, but you also have to pray that the flames don't get in the way. After lots and lots and lots of trial and error, I did finish World 6, but not after taking a beating. At this point, I felt like I understood the game's mechanics and just needed to stay persistent with whatever dumb things were thrown at me next. World 7 wasn't as bad actually. The main issue was with 7-4. There's a bunch of lifts that go up and down, and you need to quickly jump across them to survive. However, the timing of the lifts can get thrown off sometimes, which makes jumping across them impossible. And I have no idea why the game would do this. It was a pain to put up with. But World 7 really didn't take as long as I thought. I got through it and moved on to World 8. This level brings the BS back at full force. In 8-2, you'll loop infinitely if you don't know that you're supposed to hit this block by bouncing off the paratrooper to escape. Oh, and while that's happening, there's a hammer bro that chases you
Yes.
down, but at least you can use stars to take him out, so there's
Oh
that.
man, I can
It's
see
a-
why.
And there's 8-3.
Hey, what's up?
Oh,
Or why
this
she
one's
didn't
not
react
Verify
either.
it's filled
you.
with hammer bros, and you have no
Get
choice but to
your
rely on a bit of luck to
Android,
jump over and
open
under
the
them some in the hopes that their patterns are consistent. There's also a very tricky spring bounce to make.
I
You
can
have
see
to
why
bounce off
Super
of
Mario Bros. 2 Lost
At the
Levels
end, you
is
can only get
pretty
across
hard.
by spawning 2 invisible blocks. Then you gotta move this lift as high as possible, and then you can finally clear the last jump in 8-4. Oh my god, this one is so freaking long. It's filled with so many stupid jumps, 2 Bowser fights, and so many more shenanigans. I can't believe I've spent this much time talking about the lost levels of all
why should I do that?
But I'm dumbfounded at how awful the level design is. You
No, it's
need to
asking me
understand.
to do it.
I for sure spent the most time in World 8 because stringing this all together was nothing short of a nightmare.
But I
I
don't
originally
think it
estimated
does
that the lost levels would take 4 to 6 hours to finish, but I was already 8 to 9 hours in.
Damn.
But then I cleared it. I finished World 8 and only felt mildly relieved because I still had 5 worlds to go. And Simple wasn't far behind either. He was working on World 7, so we're basically neck to neck. World 9 was an interesting one though because it's not hard. In fact, I cleared it with almost no trouble. The levels here are the most Mario Maker-esque of them all. The backgrounds make no sense, and you'll also swim in areas that you normally don't swim in. So after like 5 minutes, I made it to World A, and at this point, I'm so done. I don't care if levels are annoying. I'm just running on pure adrenaline and trying to power through the best I can. I barely even remember these levels, and it's hard to distinguish them because all the themes and music are the same as before. In fact, half the levels are the same as the previous levels, but they just add
Perfect, I love
them
it.
slightly harder. I can't express to you how excited I am to escape this game and move on. I'm kind of wondering if I'll ever play Mario 1 or the Lost Levels ever again in my entire life.
Mario
But after
Bros.
a few
1,
more
I
hours,
playing.
I struggled
Lost
through the rest of
Levels
Worlds
is a
A
hell
through B
nightmare.
and finished. Oh my god, the Lost Levels was a freaking nightmare. It took me 11 hours and 19 minutes to that. I was feeling really good about the day, but man was I drained. Before ending for the night, I started Super Mario Bros. 2 for a little bit of relief. To 100% Super Mario Bros. 2, I need to beat all 20 levels without warping. And I was pretty
only
pumped
20
because I
levels?
love this game. I get to play as Peach and Float, the bosses like Birdo and Mauser are
Yep.
actually fun and engaging, there's brand new music,
I
and
love
the
this
controls are a
version of
lot
Super Mario
better.
Bros. Now
I
this-
got all the
now
way to
this
World
level-
3
now
2
this game
and
is a
decided to
whole
call it
lot
for the
easier.
night. Man, day 1 was pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie. But now that the Lost Levels is out of the way and I actually beat it, it seems like all was fine with the world.
Day 2.
I woke up today in a pretty chirpy mood. I was feeling ready for the day because Mario Bros. 2 is a breath of fresh air. But while I'm busy playing 15 billion Mario games, why not check out our sponsor, Honkai Star Rail? It's a free game made by the creators of Genshin Impact. Now,
Wow.
personally, I was already a big fan of Genshin and have played a good amount of it, so I was excited to jump into Honkai. This is a free cross-platform turn-based RPG that takes place in space and has been a massive hit with 80 million downloads in the first 6 months. There's over 30 playable and unique characters, and you'll explore a rich, semi-open world. I've really been digging this game so far. The battles are well-paced, and there's a lot of strategy to figuring out which character combos work best. I also really like the cel-shaded art style. It reminds me a lot of how the Wind Waker looks. And the 1.5 version
And
update
Ultimate
just
Spider-Man
dropped,
for me.
introducing a new character, Argentine. He's a dashing gentleman who doesn't speak, but when he does, you can't help but laugh. Argentine also specializes in AoE attacks. His spear-focused combat with special rose effects is just as magnificent as his appearance. This update also has new ghost-busting missions, a brand new story with a new map, and Silver Wolf makes a return. You can also try out the 4-star character Hanya, who's a physical-type character on the path of harmony that can restore allies' skill points to a certain extent. Honkai Star Rail has just been crowned as the best game overall on Google Play Store, as well as the best iPhone game on the App Store. It's a perfect time to start playing the game because you'll get a lot of in-game rewards like 800 Stellar Jades. So go ahead and download the game yourself with the link in the description. Get
I'm
10
all
free
good,
goals
and
when
you
logging
all-
in for 7
I'm
days
doing good
to
myself
get
as
10
well.
free Star Rail special
Andre
passes to
Tunes, you
get
made-
Argentine.
you made it.
And use the redemption code
Daniel
on
Ray
screen or
made it
below
as well.
to redeem 50 Stellar Jade. Thanks to Honkai for sponsoring this video. The only thing that's annoying about this game is that if you get a game over too many times, you have to restart from the very beginning.
I forgot the
As far as I'm
Ceratops can
aware,
make a
there's
weird
no code
noise.
that keeps you in the same world. No, you just
It
have
sounds
to
like a
play the whole
SpongeBob
game.
sad face.
Luckily, there's ways to help combat this. You can
use coins in the slot machine and try to get either cherries on the first roll or full matches for some extra lives. And with practice, you can actually time out your button presses and either get a cherry or full match every single time. But it's super precise, and I'm not that familiar with the timing. When I got to World 6, I ended up getting a game over because I choked, so I had to restart from the very beginning. But you know what? 20 levels ain't
He's
that
trying
bad.
to watch your TV, stop
ain't
it.
bad.
I like this game, so I didn't mind that much at all. Simple Flips
Hey.
was also in Mario Bros. 2. This was another
Mario
game
Bros. 2
he
is
wasn't
a
as
lot
familiar
better than
with, so it was
Lost
taking
World.
slightly longer for him to finish. After playing through it again and securing more lives, I made it to war and took that frog out with the power of vegetables. It didn't feel like it, but Mario Bros. 2 actually took me 4 hours and 52 minutes to finish,
4 hours?
despite seeming much shorter than that. And speaking of short, Super Mario Land was the next game on the list. To 100% this one, I need to beat all 12 levels without warps. Yep, you heard that right. There's only 12 levels in Mario Land. This game has some super janky controls and it's visually aged pretty horribly, but there's something about it that I just adore. All the songs are fantastic, and the levels actually try to do something different compared to most 2D Mario games. The themes are very diverse.
Wait a minute,
in
is this
nature. And I like
actually
that
on
the fire
Game
flower
Boy
is
Online?
replaced with a
Let's find
super
out.
ball that bounces around the screen until it hits an enemy. The bosses are also laughably easy. You can legit just walk around half of them and they'll lose. So because there's so few levels in Super Mario Land, this game didn't take very long to get through. In fact, I actually managed to beat the whole thing without getting a game over, which is fantastic. Because if you get a game over, you go back to the very beginning. But it was definitely down to the wire. I had 1 life left and needed to get through Tatonga to finish. His bullet pattern isn't that hard to avoid, but it's also tricky if you aren't paying enough attention. But I somehow managed to finish this game in just 42 minutes.
42 minutes,
And
not
wow,
bad.
we're already at Super Mario Bros. 3. To 100% this game, we need to beat all 90 levels, which includes the 2 plant stages in World 7 and 3 hand stages in World 8, as well as collect all 3 warp whistles. We're not going to use the warp whistles, obviously, but it felt appropriate to get them anyway for the sake of full completion. Now, I absolutely loved Mario Bros. 3.
Same
This
here.
is still my all-time favorite 2D Mario,
Same
and
here.
was so excited to be able to
Fire
cruise
Nate
through
2,
it.
what are you
Everything
doing?
about it is just amazing. The controls,
I'm
the
trying to figure
music,
out
the
the-
hub world,
the
the vast
security
amount of
code.
power-ups, the secrets. Because the levels are so nicely
Oh,
right-sized and
okay.
well-made, it's addicting to play Mario Bros. 3 over and over again. And I love that while the game is full of secrets, you don't need to find them all and still enjoy playing it. It's aged remarkably well, although the graphics don't hold up quite so much. The best part of this game is saving up all your P-Wings and then just flying through all the airships in World 8. They're the most challenging levels in the game, so the fact that Mario Bros. 3 gives you an item to basically skip them is hilarious. So after 3 hours and 56
3 hours.
minutes, I finished Mario Bros. 3. I'm not surprised I beat this game so quickly, but under 4 hours is faster than I anticipated. Even though I've been going for quite a while today,
Oh,
I
boy.
wanted to at least get a start on Super Mario World. To 100% Mario World, I need to beat all 72 levels, find all 24 secret exits, and hit all 4 colored switches. This is where things are gonna get interesting. We're no longer just finishing levels. 2D Mario starts to get a bit more complex from this point forward. And I should also mention that I'm garbage at Mario World. I've never been a fan of the pinpoint jumping physics. It just makes the game feel really slippery. And I know nobody agrees with me on this, but that's just how I feel about it. I much prefer the satisfaction of building speed in Mario
I
Bros.
don't
3
need to take a
compared to something
poo-poo.
like Mario World.
Same here.
But this is still inherently a great game.
No.
It's just one that I've barely played in the past.
No,
In fact,
no, no.
This is where the race between me and
Yeah,
Simon
thank you, you
goes
bet.
drastically. He's played the hell out of Mario World ROM hacks
Yeah,
for
me too.
several years.
Oh, man,
So I
those
already
ROM
know
hacks
he's
are
gonna
really
blaze
cool.
through Mario World and get a head start on me. I'm anticipating that he's gonna hold the lead up until the new Super Mario.
I'm gonna
Bros.
play your
Since I've
green
got a lot more
hats.
experience
This
with
is like a
those.
music.
But honestly, even
Okay.
if he does get a huge lead, I don't really care. I've managed to be in a great headspace
Yeah,
this
it's
whole
not
time,
even
which
on
is
YouTube.
all I can really want. And even though I'm not good at this game, I actually made quite a bit of progress today. Thanks to the spreadsheet, I could easily check and see which levels had secrets, as well as what locations they were in. And that's one of the reasons I'm not super fond of this game. Once you get to the Forest of Illusion, I feel like it's kind of dumb that you have no choice but to find a bunch of secrets to make any
Hey, do you
progress.
remember that
Now,
you
I get if
can-
you play the game a million times, it's not that big a deal, you just know what to
Yes.
do. But I've only beaten Mario World once, and that was years ago. I have no
Wait, do
idea
I
where
know?
any of this stuff is, so thank God for the spreadsheet. But I got about halfway through Mario World.
I don't
and
know.
No!
Oh, man.
If I don't know anything, then I'm gonna jump.
Simple Flips got way ahead of me last night. So now I have no choice but to play catch-up. But it wasn't too bad. I was getting stuck on a few annoying levels. In fact, I was struggling with Larry.
Hey, Millen,
I imagine most
look at this.
people are like, how? Am I don't know. Something about the way the platform moves up and down and the way that you hit him just feels awkward. This was unironically the hardest boss in the game, even though he should be super easy. After taking out Bowser and finding the rest of the secret exits, all that was left was the special world. And the only level I was concerned with was Tubular. You have to keep getting P-balloons and floating across the entire stage while avoiding a ton of obstacles. I thought I'd be stuck in this level for like an hour, but shockingly, I only died like 6 or 7 times. I just squarely focused on where the save areas were and then executed. After that, I had a few more levels to go and successfully 100%ed Mario World. It took me about 6 hours and 32 minutes, which is a lot less time than I anticipated.
Wait a minute.
But still much slower than Simple's time. So now I needed to rock. I was going to need to play really well to be able to catch up at all. The next game to tackle is Super Mario Land 2. I decided to use the unofficial DX version that adds proper color just because it looks a lot nicer. But to 100% Mario Land 2, I need to beat all 33 levels and find all 6 secret exits. Yeah, this game actually has secret exits, and I didn't realize that until very recently. Mario Land 2 is one of the most underrated 2D Mario games, if you ask me. It's pretty crazy how much of a glow-up this is compared to Mario Land 1 in every fashion.
Exactly.
The controls are much tighter, the pixel art is a lot better, the music is as catchy as ever, and those world themes. These are some of the most creative themes we've seen in a Mario game, period. Tree Zone, going into Mario's crotch zone, getting eaten by a turtle zone, and flying through space. It's also neat how Tatanga makes a guest appearance as just a regular boss. It's quite a surprise cameo. Throughout playing this, there was really only 2 parts I struggled with. In Turtle Zone, there's a secret exit that requires me to go down this really skinny water path filled with spikes and fish bones, and it seemed like no matter what I did, the damn fish bone would hit me and I'd have to start the level all over again. His hitbox was just massive, and I burned through most of my lives getting through this. The other part that was hard was the last level. Holy mother of ass, the difficulty goes full-on Baja Blast mode. And it's out of complete nowhere, too. I don't know why Mario Land 2 is easy up until this last stage, but here's the one part of this game that's really dumb. If you lose all your lives in this final level, you lose all the coins to this final level door, which means that you'd be forced to fight all the bosses again to get all the coins back. Why the hell is this a thing? This was clearly added to pad out game time, which is unfortunate because this game is fantastic otherwise. So just before running out of lives, I needed to farm coins and play this slot machine to get extra lives. I also needed to play this last level using the carrot power-up. Yeah, and I haven't even brought up power-ups yet, but the carrot is stupidly OP. If you're really good at mashing the A button, you can basically float until time itself is an illusion. It's super handy for the final level due to the amount of spikes that need to be avoided. And this level's huge too. It goes on for way longer than the other levels in the game. And it all ends with Wario as the final boss. I just love how Wario is the boss, and also they made him super wide for like no reason. But even Wario's kind of scary, considering you get no checkpoints if you die to him. So due to nerves, I died at Wario quite a few times until eventually taking him out. It's actually kind of funny how easy the last phase is. If you just mash with the carrot in the air, you can hit him 3 times in like 4 seconds. But after that, the game was over and I finished it in 2 hours and 39 minutes. That's about how long I expected this one to take, but I completely forgot how tough that last level is. So up next was Super Mario All-Stars. In order to 100% this one, we need to beat all 4 games without using warps. This equates to beating 194 levels. The reason we're even playing this is because these games aren't ports. They're full-on remakes with upgraded graphics and music, and the physics are a lot better too. Because of that, it makes sense to add these to the marathon since they're pretty different experiences compared to the NES counterparts. It's also worth noting that we're not playing the version of Mario All-Stars that added in Super Mario World, because that version changed nothing about that game. The save system is also much more generous. We don't need to worry about replaying the entire world or the whole game again, so in general, these 4 games will be a lot more fun to play. So of course, I started with Super Mario Bros, and my god was it so much better than before. I still got stuck in World 8 for a bit, but at least the controls felt more functional. It's really surprising how few people seem to realize Mario All-Stars is a thing. Everyone just talks about the original NES versions and how great they are when this remake is sitting right here.
Yeah,
because
I
I've
fucking
been
know.
through
that
the
remake
games,
is really
I've been
good.
feeling pretty solid today.
No,
At
you
this
don't
point,
know.
I'm mostly
If I
just
don't
fine.
know, I
After
will jump
not
off
too
the box
long, I
again.
finished Super Mario Bros. Again and was popping off, but it was a
Yep.
bit early
No
to
one
be
beats this
celebrating.
original.
And
Okay,
that's
I'll do it
because
again.
the next game is the Lost Levels again. Yeah, I actually have to play this, but now with better controls. But do the improved controls even fix the game? Well,
Oh, they're here. Tom
no,
Joy, you made
no,
it.
not at all.
Why are we
Level design
watching
itself is
YouTube?
still
I did.
horrible and lacks any sort of coherence. And it doesn't help that the graphics, while recreated and look nice, are just being copied and pasted
I never
over
knew
from
that.
Mario Bros. 1,
Andrew
which,
Tunes.
you know,
They
obviously
don't make
makes
much.
sense. But because I just
Or actually
finished the
reacting to
Mario
it.
1 remake, it just feels like I'm playing a worse version of this game yet again. But you know what? I'm not too upset about it, because I've somehow managed to catch up to Simple Flips. Yeah, I'm really surprised about that, considering how big of a lead he had, but Simple had to run a short errand today, and that small break gave me enough time to completely catch up to him. And next thing I knew, I took out Bowser after Bowser, and was somehow at 8-4 already. Then I took him out, and oh my god, I've already beaten a good chunk of the game. And I say a good chunk because, of course, World 9 and Worlds A through D are included. But at least the hardest part of Mario All-Stars is out of the way. The main thing I was having issues with this time was with D3, because a lot of this came down to Hammer Bro luck. There's like 87 bullet bills being fired at you at any given time, and it requires a lot of really precise jumps and also hoping that a Hammer Bro doesn't get in the way. But after getting through that in D4, I was finally done with the lost levels. But the suffering didn't end there. My thumbs were screaming in pain. This is something you wouldn't think would be an issue, but when you're using an NES or a SNES controller D-pad and pushing down on them really hard for super long periods of time, you're gonna lose circulation in your thumbs. And since I've been using these controllers for 3 days straight, my left thumb in particular was hurting a lot. Even when I wasn't playing, I could feel it throbbing constantly. But that's okay. I'm still feeling pretty good, and we've moved on to Super Mario Bros. 2 again. I feel like the NES game still looks decent even today, but man, the glow up on the SNES remake holds up super well too. The controls feel very similar, although maybe it's not quite as slippery. The Bob-Ombs also have proper arms and legs, and I'm kind of obsessed with them. I also don't need to rely on the slot machine as much, which is nice. One thing that is a bit different is that I switched to the Pro Controller so I could use the joystick. That's how much
I have a security camera.
And the Pro Controller is not ideal, as the joystick is known for having misinputs sometimes. But even so, I was breezing through the game, and also going for a cool wall clip at the end. If you slide and jump off this chain in the right spot, you can clip through the wall and skip a massive chunk of 7-2. It wasn't really necessary to do this, considering I was making great time already, but I thought it would look kind of cool, and after a few minutes, I got the clip and took out Birdo. And just like that, we were done with Super Mario Bros. 2. Again! Which means I just have to finish Mario Bros. 3. Simple Flips ended up getting a bit of a lead today still, but not by much. He was maybe a few worlds ahead of me. It's really surprising how close this race has been, but looking back, it makes a lot of sense. Even though he's played an immense amount of Mario Maker 2, that game's physics are way different to everything we're playing for the marathon. And the reason for that is because we were both adapting to the controls as we were going along. There wasn't really an advantage on either side. But moving on, getting to play Mario Bros. 3 again with better graphics was such a treat. I was massively chilling the whole way through. Despite how enjoyable this game is, it was also 1 a.m. and I needed to get to bed. So I got through a good chunk of World 6 and was ready to finish up. But little did I know the hell that was brewing the next day.
Yes, he's back.
I only had 2 more worlds to go in Mario All-Stars before it was all said and done, and it was a little bittersweet. Now, I would be playing Mario Bros. 3 in a few days anyway, but Mario 3 to me is like hanging out with a best friend that you never get to see, and they only visit like 3 or 4 days out of the year, so you're always sad when it's over. And next thing I knew, Bowser's butt fell into the pit of shame, and it was done. I finished Super Mario All-Stars in 9 hours and 36 minutes. This is another game that I didn't expect to knock out so quickly, but now it's time. Super Mario Bros. Deluxe on the Game Boy Color. You may think that the 100% conditions are straightforward, right? Here's what we need to do. Beat the original game with no warps. Beat it again with the star icon. Complete the Super Players game with no warps. Defeat every type of enemy. Kill Bowser using the Fire Flower in all 8 worlds. Get all the red coins / high score medals / Yoshi eggs in challenge mode. And fill the total score meter in challenge mode. Now you may be asking, why on earth are there so many random requirements? Well, that's because this game has achievements. Yep, I'm not joking. There's actual achievements to unlock that give you photos after completing them in a Game Boy Color game. The only 2 things we can unlock are trying multiplayer and using the infrared link. And that's because we're obviously streaming from far away and aren't using actual Game Boy Colors to play this. And as if things couldn't get worse, just look at this game. I mean, it does run surprisingly well and is faithful to the NES version, but good golly gravy. Look at the screen crunch. It's so bad that this game has options to move the screen manually just so you can see better. I wasn't sure how much the screen crunch would hinder the actual game,
It's been
about 20 years since I've played it. In fact,
oh, wow.
Mario Bros. Deluxe is the first Mario game I ever played, and I still remember beating it when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I also like how in between levels, there's a little map that shows Mario physically walking from level to level, so there's some pretty neat quality of life features packed in, and for whatever reason, the Fire Flower flashes shades of pink in this game, which makes it look very much like the bubble flower from Mario Bros. Wonder. But how is the remake itself? How does it play? Well, it's definitely harder than the original version. I found myself moving the camera up and down by accident all the time, because the camera controls had to be mapped to the same D-pad that we're using for moving, because there's only like 5.5 buttons on a Game Boy Color. They didn't have a choice. I also needed to play a lot more cautiously. Running ahead at full speed was a horrible idea if you didn't know exactly what was coming. Doing that would often lead to running into enemies.
Oh no, I didn't see Spaghetti Remaster yet, Trevor, but I should react to it.
So it's nice to knock that out, but now I get to do it again with a star
happy
icon.
birthday, Omega.
What's the difference though? A star icon? Well, basically the Goombas turn into Buzzy Beetles. Yep, that's the only difference. Now, funny enough, this so-called star mode is also in the original Super Mario Bros. If you just replay the game after beating it, but because the difference was so minuscule, we didn't bother adding it as a requirement for the marathon. But we're doing it this time because we'll unlock a photo for it. So after beating the star icon version, which really wasn't that much harder, I decided to also play and beat the You vs. Boo challenge. This is probably my favorite part of the game. The concept
I can't show
you race a Boo across a custom-built stage and try to beat Boo to the end. In the way are a bunch of red and white blocks. Hitting the one with the face changes their color and updates the platform surrounding you. This is a ton of fun, and I'm really surprised Nintendo has never brought it back. This mode would be killer to see as DLC in Mario Bros. Wonder. Even if it's just a small handful of stages. I clicked on the Luigi head and the title screen said Super Players Mode. I wonder what that is.
Happy birthday.
Oh, no, it's the lost levels again, but now with screen crunch. Oh God, Nintendo, why did you feel the need to include this? There's just one good thing about playing the lost levels again. Not every stage is included. World 9 and Worlds A through D aren't playable. Although, funny enough, all these stages are hidden in the game's code still. They also removed the wind from all the levels and made some of the jumps slightly easier. So, in a way, this is the best and worst way to play the lost levels. They make the game easier, but only because we're playing in a crunchy 4x4.
Help me.
Since I've already played through this awful game twice, getting through it a third time was not as painful as I expected. I already knew it was coming up, so I was hoping to only get stuck at the very end.
Fire Name 2?
At this point was only slightly behind.
Yeah, I was live streaming. Yeah, do the
we're just
intro.
gonna end up being neck to neck for the entire round.
Okay,
But about an hour or so in, I was now stuck at World 7, which is to be expected. These levels are so horribly designed and not fun, so adding screen crunch was not making things any easier. After being stuck in 8-3 for what felt like years, I finally beat it and then finished Bowser, and holy crap, the lost levels was over. I never have a reason to play any version of that game ever again, and I am so thankful for that. The only thing left to do now is the challenge mode. At first, this seemed like a really fun and enjoyable way to replay the levels. Each stage has a hidden Yoshi egg and 5 red coins. It wasn't too hard to find these things because I made a spreadsheet that showed me all the locations. However, there were a few problems with this. Some of the red coins are hidden in obscure spots that nobody would ever find without a guide. So it's a good thing we've got help for that. And for whatever reason, there was one level in each world that was absurdly difficult.
I think I spent like 20 to 30 minutes getting the score, red coins, and Yoshi egg in 1-2 of all places. I'm not sure why the game randomly gets so hard, but it made this challenge mode slowly feel more and more like a chore. I was still in a...
Uh-oh. Oh. Did I...
longer than
never mind.
anticipated. The hardest part of the challenge mode, surprisingly enough, was getting a high enough score. Some stages made this really easy, while some of them were absurdly hard. Absurd as in, you need to speedrun the level almost perfectly while also getting enough coins, power-ups, and fireworks at the end, only for you to just barely get the score you needed. Like, look at 3-2. It's demanding 85,000 points, which is crazy for one level. The only way to get it is to let the Koopas in the game hit tons of enemies in a row. Otherwise, it's completely impossible. And that's not even a hard level. Getting the score in 5-2 requires you to do the dumbest shit ever. There's not much of an opportunity to get points at all in this level, so the only way I can rack up a lot quickly is by carefully bouncing and hitting this Koopa over and over again. This required an immense amount of concentration, because one mistake with your jump meant doing the whole thing over again. Did the developers at the time not test these challenge stages? Who in their right mind wants to bounce off a Koopa 80 times with no mistakes and then pray they get to the end without choking? And oh my lord, I have gotten so tired of this music. I've had to listen to the overworld theme for almost 5 days straight, and I'm ready to rip my ears off. Now, yes, I could fire up Spotify or something, but I don't want to do that because listening to the sound effects help with timing, so I have no choice but to push through. By the time I got to World 7 and 8, it was incredibly brutal. I was so exhausted from playing Mario 1 stages that I wasn't making any progress. I started to play stages out of order just to freshen things up, but it didn't really help that much. At this point, I just needed some sleep, considering that I sunk almost the whole day into Super Mario Bros. Deluxe and still wasn't done. So I was gonna have to play it again for day 5 for who knows how long. Despite how arduously long SMB Deluxe has been taking, I was in a good mood and ready to go. I still needed to finish challenge mode for World 7 and 8, and the game was still not giving it to me easy. As I was about to wrap up though, I was warned of an extremely fatal bug this game has. If you manage to complete multiple challenges at once, the game will not give you all the achievement pictures. So if I were to say finish all the red coins and Yoshi eggs at the same time while wrapping up the last level, I may only get one of those photos.
Okay, I muted it.
For your name choose, can you stop please when you try to stream?
The red coins and the Yoshi egg all individually.
Sure,
So
Sam, I like
my
your VR
album,
chat.
and I did not get
Use
the
something.
Yoshi egg photo.
Okay.
You gotta be kidding me. I followed the game's glitchy rules and I still got the bug. If you're curious what the photo looks like,
yes,
here
that
it
was
is.
the
That's the photo. That's the
years,
glory I missed out
when you
on
streamed,
because of this
on
fantastic
YouTube.
bug. Although I guess it technically doesn't matter because you can see on my screen that I did everything. The game just didn't want to give me.
mode.
But I had
And
one
I didn't know
more
what
to
to.
get. Maxing
I
out the
didn't know how
challenge.
to do it.
You see this bar on the bottom that isn't full? Yeah, I have to fill this freaking bar to get the last award.
Wow.
But you might be confused because I
Yeah,
already got
your
the
stream
challenge
is
medals for every
gonna be
stage.
My
no.
pleasure.
Set up that
My pleasure.
Again.
bar.
My stream's gonna be no. Oh yeah, I need
Hold
to.
on, I want to show
So
to the
I
streams.
currently have 1,044,700
change the
points,
title
but I
of
need to get
this.
1,160,000
Damn.
points. So that means I have to
1
replay stages and try to squeeze out an
Yeah.
additional
When you change the titles,
150,300 points.
can you go
Why
back to
such
the
a
VRChat
specific number?
screen
And why is
so-
it so much
so,
higher? Dude, I will never
so I
escape
can,
this game. Like,
show
these
the
glitches,
streams?
He wants me to play this for the rest of my life, and maybe, maybe it'll
Show
let
the
me reach
screen.
100%. But I have to die for it! Okay, sorry. Maybe that was a bit far. Do you want to
okay, go
know
back
what I had
to,
to do to get an extra 100,000
Change the
points?
title.
More Koopa jumping. This is so stupid.
Oh,
I almost can't
let
be
me,
upset because of how
go to-
absurd this is. I deliberately had stages and look for places where I could do Koopa out an additional 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 points per level.
Ow.
Which may not sound that bad. It's pretty good. But achieving an additional 115,000 points is an insane ask. So that's what I spent several more hours doing today, trying to find levels where I could do the stupid Koopa bouncing.
Fire Neb 2,
Now,
are you
I bet
good?
some of you were thinking, oh, just do the one-up trick in 3-1. That would rack up a ton of points, right?
No
Well, guess
fucking
what?
way.
The show breaks after 8,000 points, and I know that because Simple Flips tried the strategy last night, and it didn't work for him. Look, I think Mario Bros. Deluxe as a game has a lot of great things to offer. But going for 100% is somehow one of the most obnoxious things I've ever done in a Mario game. After spending half the day replaying stages, I figured out that I could get a good chunk of points in 4-2, which let me finally finish the score bar and 100% the game. Just kidding! I'm not done yet! Oh my god! I'm not done because I forgot to kill Bowser with fireballs in all 8 worlds. At least I'm able to just travel to whichever world and level I want to, so yippee-yahoo for that. But you're not gonna believe this. Even doing this was challenging, especially for World 7. I needed to retain a Fire Flower for the entirety of World 7. That's because I can get one power-up in 7-1 and another in 7-3, which means I had to survive 7-2's complete RNG bullshit and also get through 7-3 and 7-4 without any mistakes. But I've been playing this game for, what, like half my life at this point? I knew I could do it. So that's what happened. I knocked out Bowser with fireballs, I got this fantastic photo filled out, and was finally done with this behemoth. It only took a quick 17 hours and
17 hours.
So, no big deal. I guess I'll just crawl my way over to the next game if I have any energy left. Finally, we can move on to Super Mario Advance. For those who don't know, this is Super Mario Bros. 2 again, but with better graphics, and the characters talk to you. To 100% Super Mario Advance, I need to beat
Which is for the group.
without warping, and then beat the level
Which is for the group series.
all 40 Yoshi eggs and 100
I slipped out.
This is why we're playing the Advance remakes, because they all have exclusive content that none of the other versions have.
Okay.
These are actually the versions of the games that
Oh, wait.
What happened?
Well, mostly just Advance 1. I loved this game as a kid, and even now it's still fantastic. The only drawback I could really argue is that it's too much on the easy side. Getting lives and extra health is so much simpler. Just as one example, if you collide multiple enemies together, then you'll get free hearts for it. There's also a brand new boss in this game. In World 3, you fight this creepy Robo-Bird thing, and the only way to defeat him is by throwing these massive eggs at it, so that's kinda neat. After a bit of time, I finished the main game and moved on to the extra stuff. The ace coins aren't too hard to find, as they're usually just out in the open waiting to be grabbed.
Okay.
But the Yoshi
I really
eggs
thought
are
you
still
OBS.
story.
I just
really thought
can't
you
even be able to find out.
Meaning you have to throw the potions in the right spot and hope there's one nearby.
I would say, I really thought you OBS
I mean,
closed the most ridiculous spots.
I am
Even just this
streaming-
first level,
I am
you
streaming,
gotta drop down this pipe and grab the potion. Then come
No, it
back
ain't
out,
close.
jump up the
Anyways,
mountain,
I'm
and
streaming
then
on
you
my,
can throw the potion and get the egg. I am so glad I made a guide for these eggs, because a good
OBS.
portion of them would have been really confusing to
Because
find.
it's way
While I'm
more
really
easy to
glad
Wow.
that I finally have the opportunity to play this extra stuff in the Advanced series, I also know I'm gonna feel so
yes.
relieved that I'll never need to do this again. I also had this really unlucky moment with the
Hello, Pibby.
2 where it passed underneath the sand.
This is
Hey,
actually
MC4 Bros.
This is actually the power of Super Mario Galaxy.
You have to jump above the screen to grab this mushroom.
Cool.
This is actually
Then
the
you
power
can
of
throw the
Super
potion,
Mario
and the egg
Galaxy.
will pass through. Because
Hey,
otherwise,
M64 Bros. I am live streaming. Go to my YouTube channel, then you'll see that I'm live streaming.
Got it. Give me a few.
While snippets are shooting balls at you. Like I said, there's some
Okay.
pretty annoying eggs, but it wasn't. as
Okay.
Here I come.
The main hurdle was that it was just.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
send it to my
my
Discord,
my
send it to my
YouTube
Discord.
channel is Real Homestar.
If you miss still
Send me
AFK.
a Discord link if that's right.
We're already moving on to Super Mario.
Oh, my favorite
Send it to your
game for this
Discord.
game. Yeah, that's
Wait, I
right.
forgot what your Discord called. What's your Discord called?
72 levels.
It's
Find
M64
alternative-
It's the same
That's
username.
me, right over there.
Oh boy.
360.
Oh, M64 Bros.
The only reason is there's a reward.
Yeah, it's the same username as VRChat and
At the
YouTube.
end, and the coins also transfer.
That's me.
While in the original game, you just
I just
get
saw
one up for
myself
getting all
in the
dragon
video.
coins in any individual stage. So
Yes, I can see myself. I love being in the videos. Hold on.
Can't see the TV
for
though.
one, you can play as Luigi, who I was rocking for quite a
But
while.
I turn on
Jump into
unallowed
time to build speed.
Hi, YouTube.
or else.
Hold on for a second. Let me
Unironically,
get on my
it makes it
Discord.
less slippery. There's also dragon coins in most of the levels that
Did you say the link in
Well,
YouTube on Discord, themselves?
The only real downside this game has is that it looks
No.
blown out to And the reason for that
I'm about
is
to
this
get
game
it.
came out
No, I'm about to
the
send
only
it.
game that existed was the one without the backlit screen.
gonna beat
So
them.
it is trying to
Okay.
compensate and make the whole game a bit brighter. But besides that,
Okay,
it's the
you'll
same great game again. And even though I've never
Oh, I
been
know this
super fond
character
of
is
Mario
like-
World, as
this-
you know at this point, this marathon has really made me appreciate it more. I was
Well, I'm gonna be
starting to remember
gay.
where the secret exits were by just playing, which made getting through it.
This
a
is
lot
what
more fun
happens
than
when
most.
baby
But the day
breaks
was getting really
phone.
late, and I was getting
Stop
tired.
saying gay.
So I stopped after playing a decent chunk. Despite being 6 days
Okay,
in,
I'm
I
gonna
somehow
fight.
still have the same amount of energy as I did on the first day. Maybe I'm just used to these.
Okay, there it is. The
I'm
live
not really
stream
sure. But
link.
the goal was to finish Advanced 2 and get as far as I could into
Okay,
Advanced 4.
I'm gonna send it
Also,
to you on your,
surprise Carl cameo. Carl came in to work on some
I'm gonna
rough
send
cuts
it to
for
you
this video,
on
so
Discord.
talk to the
Discord.
studio to see how
Okay,
it's
there you
going.
go.
I was surprised how much I was enjoying Mario World today. Finding the Dragon Coins
Oh, he's
wasn't
back, he's
too
back.
bad either. I was just kind of grabbing them as I was going. Another cool addition is
think
the
I might end
inventory
this
screen.
reaction
You can
to
see
this.
which
Okay,
ones
two
are
people is watching.
and helps you keep track of them. The only Dragon Coins that were a pain in the butt were the ones in Valley Fortress. Their placement was pretty ridiculous at times, requiring you to make super precise
damn
jumps to
it.
get them all. But after beating that, I was finally done,
Perfect.
and I got
I think
the
I found
epic
you. Are you Mr.
cutscene.
Krabs?
Washed out.
I think my
Whoa, this cutscene
avatar
is
just loaded
crazy.
correctly.
What? You're getting
No!
paid.
Yeah, that's me,
That's
me,
Oh,
Mr.
sorry.
Over
Krabs.
there. And that's Dave right over there.
Yo, it's us.
Took me 9 hours and 40 minutes. So it was another beat.
The reason why I was sucked, dudes.
Yeah, it's us.
Advanced game, Super Mario Advance 4.
Hey,
And no, we're
everyone.
not playing Advance 3. Yoshi game.
Yeah, hello.
Squidward.
Not gonna tell
Squid-
me.
Squidward. You
Oh
have
my god, I'm in both video. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
No.
geez.
No, I can do it better.
But that's not all.
SpongeBob me more. You 2 seconds late for work, boy. Stay in the kitchen and make me some burger.
Mr. Krabs, Mr. Krabs.
I think
What
that's
if we
all we're
say
gonna
Mr.
react
Krabs
we're
so
acting
many
as
times?
Yeah.
Can I go in
Oh,
there?
Since we're done reacting to the video and since we only react to half of it, we'll do our to be continued. Other than that, guys, this was a great reaction. We might play
Can
a
I
fun
use
game in
your
VR
please?
chat eventually. But
Hey.
other than that,
Okay.
Hey there. Hey,
For some
Ethan.
reason,
We're
I
live
just fell
streaming.
off.
Guys, we're live streaming.
alright, I have to get going. I have some stuff to do
This is
in
not
real
a
life,
perfect
but I
way
will
to
return
go.
to
Okay,
VR chat
Infibos,
on my
I
cell
will
phone.
try it, okay?
Alright. Other than that, guys, I will see you boys later. Peace out, guys. I gotta...
Bye, everyone! Bye, everyone! The crowd!
Come on there.
Please.
Uh-oh.
For, again, so bye, everyone! Bye, everyone!
There we go. And skadoosh. Huh. That was a fun reaction. I might... So this was only half the reaction because I've got some other stuff to do. But other than that...